Sarah is filling in for Vince today. Vince is a little under the weather, so he's not with us today, unfortunately. But Sarah's stepped in. And Sarah, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about game shows.
That's right. We're gonna talk about game shows. Now, I know game shows are not everybody's cup of tea, but they fit within the parameters of geekdom, in my personal opinion.
And pop culture.
And pop culture, yeah. And I happen to, if you don't know this already, I happen to be a big fan of game shows. It's just one of those things I grew up with. I've always liked game shows. And so today, Sarah and I are going to give you our personal top 5 game shows. We're doing another list video.
Yes, indeed.
We're going to give you our personal top 5 game shows of all time. And here we go. Going 5 to 1.
Okay, should I start?
Go ahead.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Oh, it's obvious.
Yep.
But Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. Yep.
Yeah, I love Jeopardy.
You like it because you're good at it.
Yeah, I must admit I am good at it. I used to watch that every day after school. And I haven't watched it recently, but...
I like Alex Trebek a lot.
Oh, I love the guy. I think he's really good as a host, and... You know, it's just a nice, cool show. And...
I think a lot of my affinity for game shows a lot of times ends up being hosts.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, I grew up wanting to get into public speaking and things like that. And I always felt like I took a lot of cues from game show hosts. I always wanted to... There were game show hosts I wanted to be like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so sometimes the game didn't even matter so much. A lot of times it was just more, you know, I want to be like that guy.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you take a look at Deal or No Deal... Howie Mandel totally
made that show.
I mean, if it weren't for him, that game show's boring.
Well, and look at all the home versions, it is boring.
Yeah, but the show itself is fun to watch because you're watching Howie.
Jeopardy didn't make my list, partly, I guess, just because I think I put more, for the most part, I think I put more game shows on my list that I actually like to play.
Sure.
Like when I'm watching,
I like to play Jeopardy.
Or with friends, and I just was never real good at Jeopardy. Yeah. Although I do like writing Jeopardy. That would probably be number 6 on my list, to be honest with you.
Sure.
But yeah. Anyway, my number 5 is Match Game.
Okay.
Gene Rayburn.
Sure.
Love Match Game. Match Game was like one of the only celebrity game shows that I really, really liked. I mean, I love Whose Line Is It Anyway, but that hardly counts as a game show.
Yeah, the points don't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's not like you have regular contestants that come on. You have a cast on that show.
Yeah.
But Match Game, you had regular. If you don't know what it is, because it's. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not a well-known game show, but a lot of. Like, the current generation wouldn't know Match Game unless they watched a lot of Game Show Network, because it was mostly popular in the late 70s to early 80s. And although I think they tried to bring it back a few times, but its big heyday was the late 70s. And I don't know if you watched it very much, but when it was on, they always called it by its year. So you have Match Game 77, Match Game 78. And so Gene Rayburn was the host, and he made that show because he was hilarious. And then you'd have celebrity guests, and they would be your panel, and then you'd have contestants that would come in, and he would give you a sentence, and then he'd leave a blank out, and then you had to put something in that blank, and then try to match with all the celebrity people, and like much more so than something like what was that game show with the celebrities?
Hollywood Squares?
Hollywood Squares. I never liked Hollywood Squares.
I enjoyed that one. Not nearly as much as Match Game, but I still liked it.
That show always felt too gimmicky to me, because it was always, I mean, it was true-false questions, and it was just sort of like you know, how can we get celebrities on a game show and give them excuses to crack jokes? And Match Game,
jokes were funny,
Match Game, the jokes came without forcing them, because it was built in because of this.
Because of the questions.
Yeah, just because of the very concept of the show was just hokey and hilarious. Anyway,
exactly.
So anyway, I always love that show. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, my number 4. Believe it or not, I had to put this on my list. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
I can't believe that's on your list. I can't believe that trumped Jeopardy.
Yeah, that could be a nostalgia thing.
It probably is.
But I watched the show growing up, and I played 3 computer games with Carmen Sandiego in the title, so it had to make my list.
It's another one of those things. I was always bad at geography, so I wouldn't have been any good at that show.
And I am good at geography because of Carmen Sandiego.
Okay, all right, that's cool. Did you put any other Nickelodeon games on your? Actually, that wasn't. I'm sorry, that wasn't Nickelodeon.
No, that was PBS.
That was PBS. Yeah. but it always felt kind of Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I could see that. And Rockapella was awesome.
My number 4 is Let's Make a Deal.
Okay.
Both the Monty Hall version and the current one with Wayne Brady. They're both really good. And there was another one in the middle that I never saw. But I always really liked that show just because it's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, you've got a host who walks around and just makes deals with people, and you can have the thing in the box or the thing in the behind the curtain and
behind door number 1.
And kind of like Price is Right, it had different games also. So I mean, you'd make, I don't know how much you watched it, but I mean, you know, you'd make deals, but then they'd also have games that were you know, they were deals, but you'd have different sorts of things where you'd have to like pick behind a group of things to try to get up to a car and things like that. And there was a lot of variety to that show, and it was super hokey.
Yeah.
And hilarious.
Yeah. But it was great because it was hokey.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone dresses up in costumes, and it's just wacky
it's
and
kind of
out there.
Yeah, but it's the kind of wacky that's not annoying.
Yeah.
It's not like the Gong Show. And
I never saw that.
I liked the Gong Show, but I could only take so much of the Gong Show. It's sort of like certain hard rock bands where like you really like them, but you can only listen to 2 or 3 songs in a row. I was kind of like that with Gong Show, because that thing was like you'd have people who would have like terrible, awful talents, and they'd get up and they'd do their talent, and then you'd have a panel. Yeah, and you have a panel, and if one of the, and I think they were celebrities, and if one of the panel got up and gonged them, then they were done. And that's how it was. And it was super bizarre and hokey, but like Let's Make a Deal was a little more streamlined than that, but still you had all the crazy costumes and stuff. And like I said, Wayne Brady's doing it right now, and I thought he had a rough start, but I love it now.
Yeah.
He's totally in his element now.
Yeah.
And his co-host is really funny too, and he's doing a lot of improv comedy on it, so it's great. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, actually, my number 3 is Let's Make a Deal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I didn't realize you even liked that show.
I never saw the original.
Yeah?
And you introduced me to the version with Wayne Brady.
Right.
And, the first episode I saw, I just loved.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I just didn't realize that there was anything quite like that ever on television. So.
Well, what's really good about Wayne Brady's version, too, is that he hasn't deviated very much from what it was. It really is the same thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
My number... Where are we?
3.
3 is Price is Right.
Okay.
And it's Bob Barker. Bob Barker made that show.
Yes.
And Price is Right itself is not necessarily the most amazing game show ever, but Bob Barker was awesome.
Yes.
So he just has to be on there because of that. But I love Plinko, and
who doesn't?
And,
the showcases at the end are fun to get.
The showcases are always fun to. Yeah, there's that, and the big wheel's cool looking.
Yeah. Don't you want a big wheel in your house that you can just come home, spin the wheel?
So the pricing games were lame, and the biggest thing I didn't like about that show is a lot of times were just contestants.
Yeah, well, especially now with when they're doing the stupid call-outs when they're spinning the big wheel.
Yeah.
That just gets on
I'm
my
not
nerves.
a big fan of Drew Carey's version, although, I mean, I'll still watch it.
Yeah, I love Drew Carey, but he was not the right pick for that show, it looks like.
I thought he was when he got it, and he's gotten better, but still, I don't know, he's coasting a little bit, I think. But
yeah. Yeah, we'll give him a little longer, see what happens.
Yeah, well, the difference between Bob Barker and Drew Carey, and this isn't entirely fair because he's only in like his second year doing it, but the difference between the two is that Bob Barker ran that show, and the show runs Drew Carey.
Yeah.
I mean, it was already there, it was already set up, and so, he kind of just lets it coast him along, and he's just there to say things, and to make occasional jokes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Bob Barker felt like he had total control of the room.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, number 2, Match Game.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you liked Match Game that much.
Yeah, that's one of the few that I used to watch when we sporadically had access to Game Show Network at my house.
That's hilarious. Honestly, we never talked about Match Game, and I always thought you thought I was just silly for watching that show. I had no idea you liked it.
Yeah, when my family didn't have cable or satellite very often when I was growing up, and so when I had access to the Game Show Network, that and Family Feud were the two that I tried to watch.
It's also a ton of fun to play.
Oh, yeah.
We played in Star Trek Club quite a bit.
Yeah.
But my Star Trek Club is kind of... The games have been patterned a lot after game shows, and so a lot of the ones on this list are things that I have played a lot because of that. My number 2, is that where we're at?
Yes.
Password.
Password. Okay.
And that's another one of those that's... maybe not as much fun to watch as it is to play, but I always thought that, I don't know why, I like word association games, and I'm not the best at them, but I just like them. I find them interesting, and they're fun and challenging.
Yeah.
And Password I always thought was a brilliant concept for a game show. And I mean, it goes all the way back to the 50s, but you know, you get a word, and you have to give one-word clues to try to get your partner to guess it before the other team can get it. And it's really simple, which is part of what's good about it.
I always enjoyed it, but I would never have put it that high on my list necessarily.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like watching it.
It's classic, man. It was the beginning of a lot of these word association kind of game shows. In fact, they got it so right the first time.
Yeah.
A lot of those really early game shows were kind of boring, and I never thought Password was boring. It was dry, certainly, but not boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
They tried to bring it back a couple years ago. They tried to do $1 Million Password.
Really?
And it didn't catch on.
Huh.
It was on maybe a couple years.
Yeah.
Maybe a year. Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
What's your number one?
My number one is
Wheel of Fortune. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I could have called that.
Yeah.
I could have called that.
Absolute favorite game. I'm amazingly good at it and love to play it.
Once again, it didn't make my list. I don't know why. I mean, I really like Wheel of Fortune, but it's another one of those things where I think I enjoy playing it on like video games and stuff more than I like watching it.
I prefer
Cat St.
watching
Jack
it
is so
to
dry.
playing it on video games.
Yeah.
Because up until the version on the Wii, and even sort of including the version on the Wii sometimes, I never found a version that was really good.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that's one of those games where you watch it on TV or you play Hangman with your friends.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
But I love that kind of word game.
It is conceptually a really, really great game. And I'm not saying that like I really hate Pat Sajak or anything, but I don't know. For some reason, I just thought he was a little dry, and
that's a game that you don't watch for the host.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the host is almost unnecessary.
Yeah, that's
because
okay. You're right about
everyone's eyes are glued to the board, trying to figure out what the words are.
There's also kind of a stigma attached with Wheel of Fortune, and Price is Right to a certain point where that's the show that old people watch with dinner. You know what I mean? Like, and I have a hard time not associating it like that. It's it's a great show.
It's a fantastic show. I love it.
I don't think it would work as an hour show. I mean, it's a good thing it's always been half an hour. I don't think that would ever have worked.
No, that would be weird.
Can you guess my number one? I guess yours.
Let's see, $64,000 pyramid.
$25,000 or any dollar amounts. Well, there were several.
I know. I was like, which one is it?
The umbrella of pyramid. I love pyramid, and once again, word association games. That is one of the most impressive shows to watch when people are good at it, and that's why I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever watched very much of it.
I've watched a bit, but not.
Pyramid, if you haven't ever seen it, is you've got. And they had celebrities on that show also. What they do is they'd get two contestants and they'd pair them with celebrities very often. And what you do is you get a category. So you'd know the umbrella of the category, and then you'd have I think 30 seconds to get 7. I think is how it worked.
I don't remember the time limit.
I think it was, and so you'd get words, and you try to get your opponent or your partner to say the word by giving clues, and it's just really impressive when people are good at it.
Yeah.
But what was better was the bonus round. That's what was really fun to watch about it, because you'd get through the 7 categories, and then the winning team would go to a bonus round where instead of answering the words in a category, they'd actually have to guess the name of the category, and that's really hard. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I love that show. That, and I love Dick Clark.
Sure.
So anything with Dick Clark in it was always good. But
yeah. Although I am surprised that I didn't see Win Ben Stein's Money on your list.
I thought about it, and I actually wrote down some things that didn't make the list, but I thought about them. Win Ben Stein's Money I loved. Is just the greatest thing ever. And
I know you did.
And it was really popular when it was on, and then it just kind of quietly faded away. But then other things I threw on here, I wrote Carmen Sandiego down on here too, though I wasn't going to put it on my thing. Beat the Geeks was a great show.
I don't know that one.
Beat the Geeks was only on a couple of years. It was I think it was on Comedy Central along with Win Ben Stein's Money, but I don't remember exactly how it worked. But basically the idea was you'd have these you'd have people who were brought on to be like an authority in a geeky topic, but it wasn't always like geeky stuff like what we call geeky stuff on our show. Like there'd be like a science category, and there'd be things like that, and regular people would come on and they would have to compete against the geeks, and what was really great about it is you'd always have a special category geek. So you had like 3 or 4 regular categories. And I think it was always generally the same core panel, and then you'd have this extra one, and they bring on, and it was always the same ones if they brought them on. They had a Star Wars geek, they had a Star Trek geek, and they had a few others. And I loved it whenever they had the Star Trek geek on, because I always knew them. And so they bring the Star Trek, and I'm like, oh, why can't I be on that show?
Yeah.
I remember one time they asked a question about the Pegasus, and I knew it, and I was like, oh. And then everybody in the crowd was like, ooh, like it was a really hard question. I was like, it's the Pegasus, what? So anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
awesome. Some of the ones that I had on.
Okay.
Let's see, I had Family Feud down.
I was surprised that didn't make your list at all.
I know, I thought about it, but the thing is, I like the original host the best, and it's so touchy because there's so many hosts that I just can't stand watching.
That's true, but it doesn't ruin the.
It kind of does for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes it hard to watch those episodes, but it doesn't ruin the format of the game. I mean, they've never changed the format.
I have a hard time catching the hosts that I like on TV.
Well, there's that.
So let's see. Price is Right was up there. I couldn't fit it on my list because I only had 5 spots.
I felt like I had to just because of Barker.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was the longest running game show host ever.
Yeah.
And was awesome.
That was probably number 6.
Yeah.
So, and then I don't know how much close this is to a game show, but American Gladiators.
See, that's not really a game show.
No,
it's almost a game show.
It's close. They're competing.
American Gladiators. Anyway, I know this is kind of an odd topic. I'm sorry, did you have anything else to say?
No.
I know this is kind of an odd topic, but we thought we would tell you about our favorite game shows. So if you have a favorite game show, leave that in the comments. If there's something you like me and Vince or me and Sarah later on to talk about, leave that in the comments as well. And thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah, reminding you to support your local comic book store.
We'll see you next time.